You've heard of Kurkuri Bhindi, Jaipuri Bhindi or Rajasthani Bhindi? Today's recipe starts on that note but takes that same recipe to the next level. What I'm showing you today, ladies and gentlemen, is Kurkuri Bhindi Masala. Bhindi, okra, lady's finger, gumbo, they're all the same. We know the same things by different names in different parts of the world. The first thing is to choose, of course, good quality bhindi. We begin with snipping off the ends and cut this lengthwise with slicing it. Eventually what we get is strips of bhindi. Let's do some more. Lady fingers, cut and ready. Let's move on to adding in some flours and spices, beginning with gram flour. Now this will ensure that the batter clings onto the strips of lady finger. I'm going to add in rice flour. Well, in case you could lay your hands on cornstarch, by all means you can use that as well. Rice flour just works perfect. Let's add in amchur powder. Now amchur powder in this recipe is extremely important because the acid in this recipe will ensure that the okra or the bhindi does not become sticky or cloggy. You could also add in chaat masala or lemon juice or citric acid crystals. You just need to crush them lightly and add it to the recipe. Red chilli powder for that little spike in the recipe. Ajwain, carom seeds to bring in that nuance of flavor. I'm going to add in roasted cumin powder, just a touch of garam masala powder. We rub all of this into the okra and eventually then we'll add in just a little splash of water. Well, this way all the spices, all the flours will cling onto the sliced bhindi. While we're mixing all of this, also ensure that oil is heating on high flame in a kadhai. Well, because the okra or because the bhindi is slightly sticky in nature, I don't see the need of adding in water at all. So I'm going straight into the kadhai like so. The bhindi in this case is not going to really take a lot of time to get cooked because of course we've cut that into thin strips also. One thing that you need to note here is if at all you feel like adding in or splash in a little bit of water, the batter while frying will literally cling onto the bhindi and literally encase it like a fritter or a bhajia. When you do not splash in the water, what happens is the bhindi becomes nice and crisp. The masalas ensure that it's well spiced and the besan and the rice flour ensures that it becomes nice and crisp. Once the bhindi becomes nice and crisp, we pull it out of the oil and transfer it on an absorbent tissue paper. Similarly, let's fry all of this. Well, with this, our Kurkuri Bhindi is done and ready. Now, Kurkuri, the word for the uninitiated, means crisp to bite. Let me show you how crisp the bhindi is. Nice and crisp. Let me sprinkle some chaat masala on top of this. Let's toss this and keep this aside. Let's move on to the next step, and that is making the masala. For that, of course, need a mixer jar. I'm going to show you a very quick way of making onion tomato masala at home. Tomatoes, roughly cut, sliced onions, the trinity of spices, ginger, garlic, green chilies. Let's cover this and run this into a fine puree without water. Our ground paste is done and ready. Let's now move on to cooking this. First things first, wok on high flame and into this vegetable oil. Into this, you could also use the oil from the same kadhai in which you had fried the bhindi. Once the oil just kind of begins to heat up, I'm going to add in this paste. Well, generally I would show you a recipe which says heat oil, add in some whole spices, move on to ginger garlic paste, add in some onions, fry them, move on to tomatoes, and then moving on to spices. This one is like one of the quickest recipes of the onion tomato masala. All goes in without cooking it further. I'm going to add in red chilli powder, followed by garam masala powder, and lastly turmeric powder. Salt as well. And you know what? The masala is actually ready. What you have to now do is Cook it for at least 7 to 8 minutes or maybe a little longer to ensure that the rawness of this masala goes away. Keep stirring this intermittently because you do not want the spices or the masala on the whole to get burnt. Keep scraping the sides and the bottom. And you'd be wondering how much to cook. How do you really gauge whether the masala is done or no? You'll start noticing oil on the sides of the pan, and also where it bubbles, you'll start seeing droplets of oil. That's the point where off goes the flame. We begin with plating. With this, our Kurkuri Bhindi Masala is done and ready. This is me, the Bombay Chef Varun Inamdar, signing off. Bye for now.